Nathan Cole's billion-dollar empire meant nothing the moment a barefoot black girl slipped into his Mercedes, pressed her small hand over his mouth, and whispered, "Shut up. They'll hear us." As a white van prowled the parking garage and the 7-year-old trembled in torn clothes, the CEO faced a choice that would shatter his perfect life: call security on what appeared to be a runaway child, or listen to why Ava Johnson was so terrified of being found. In the next 72 hours, Nathan would discover that some battles aren't fought in boardrooms, but in the shadows where children disappear, where money buys silence, and where one little girl's courage would expose a darkness that reached higher than anyone imagined. Just before we get back to it, I'd love to know where you're watching from today, and if you're enjoying these stories, make sure you're subscribed. The mahogany conference table still bore the heat of battle. Nathan Cole pushed back from his chair, his jaw tight from 3 hours of verbal warfare. The merger documents lay scattered across the polished surface like casualties of corporate combat. Board members filed out in clusters, their hushed conversations trailing behind them like smoke from extinguished fires. "Nathan, we need those Singapore numbers by Monday," Harrison called from the doorway, his tone suggesting it wasn't a request. "You'll have them," Nathan replied without looking up. His fingers traced the edge of a profit projection sheet. 27 million in potential revenue, but at what cost? The acquisition would make Cole Industries the largest tech infrastructure provider on the West Coast, but something about the deal felt wrong. Maybe it was the way their lawyers had smiled too much during negotiations, or how quickly they'd agreed to his terms. His phone buzzed. Marcus, his driver for the past 5 years, rarely called directly. "Mr. Cole, I'm sorry." Marcus's voice came through rough and congested. "Started throwing up an hour ago. Can't make it in. Take care of yourself, Marcus. I'll manage." Nathan stood, straightening his charcoal suit jacket. The October sun painted golden stripes across his corner office windows, highlighting the dust motes that danced in the afternoon light. Beyond the glass, the Pacific stretched endlessly, its surface glittering like scattered diamonds. His beach house waited 40 minutes down the coast, and for once, he'd drive himself. The prospect felt oddly liberating. He grabbed his briefcase and headed for the private elevator. The executive floor emptied quickly on Fridays, everyone eager to shed their corporate personas for the weekend. Nathan pressed the parking garage button and watched the numbers descend. 32 floors of carefully constructed success, each level representing another year of 16-hour days and sacrificed relationships. The elevator opened to the underground parking garage's artificial twilight. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows between the concrete pillars. His footsteps echoed in the vast space, bouncing off walls that smelled of motor oil and damp cement. Most of the executive spots sat empty, their painted lines marking territories in this subterranean kingdom. Then he heard it, quick footsteps, lighter than his own, moving somewhere behind him. Nathan paused, turning slowly. The garage stretched out in neat rows of luxury vehicles, but nothing moved. Probably just the echo playing tricks. This place had always felt too large, too hollow, especially when empty. His black Mercedes S-Class waited in its designated spot, the paint job so perfect it looked wet under the lights. Nathan clicked the key fob, and the car chirped its welcome. He reached for the driver's door handle when movement caught his peripheral vision. The rear door on the opposite side opened and Nathan's hand froze. His mind cataloged exits, main ramp, 30 yards behind, emergency stairwell to his left, security booth at the far end, but likely unmanned this late. Before he could decide, a small figure slipped into his back seat and pulled the door closed with practiced silence. Through the tinted glass, he saw her, a black girl, couldn't be more than 7 or 8, pressed against the far door like she was trying to become part of it. Her eyes, wide and dark, locked onto his through the window. Even from outside, he could see her chest rising and falling in rapid, shallow breaths. Nathan moved around the car slowly, his dress shoes clicking against concrete. His hand went to his phone, thumb hovering over the security desk number. But something in the girl's expression stopped him. Not just fear, but a kind of desperate calculation, like a cornered animal deciding whether to fight or flee. He opened the driver's door and leaned in, keeping his voice steady and non-threatening. "Hey there, are you She lunged forward with surprising speed. Her small hand, dusty and trembling, clamped over his mouth. The smell of dirt and something metallic, blood, filled his nostrils. "Shut up," she whispered, her voice barely audible but fierce with urgency. "They'll hear us." Nathan's first instinct was to pull away, but her eyes darted past him, scanning the garage shadows with practiced vigilance. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a lost child playing pretend. The terror radiating from her small frame was real enough to make his own pulse quicken. An engine rumbled to life somewhere in the garage. Not the smooth purr of an executive sedan, but something heavier, more industrial. Nathan turned his head slightly, her hand still pressed against his mouth, and saw it. A white van with tinted windows, creeping along the row behind them. No company logos, no identifying marks. It moved with predatory patience, pausing at each car like it was hunting. The girl's fingers tightened against his face. Her whole body had gone rigid, every muscle coiled. Nathan could feel her holding her breath. The van rolled closer, its engine a low growl that seemed to fill the entire garage. Through the windshield, Nathan caught a glimpse of the driver, thick neck, baseball cap pulled low, eyes scanning methodically. The van paused directly behind Nathan's Mercedes. Time stretched like taffy. Nathan could hear his own heartbeat, could feel the girl's rapid pulse through her palm. The driver leaned forward, peering at the Mercedes's tinted windows. Nathan held perfectly still, fighting every executive instinct that told him to take control of the situation. After what felt like hours, but was probably 10 seconds, the van continued its patrol, disappearing around a concrete pillar toward the exit ramp. The girl didn't move until the engine sound faded completely. Only then did she slowly lower her hand, leaving a dusty print on Nathan's chin. Nathan slipped into the driver's seat, his movements careful and quiet. In the rearview mirror, he could see her more clearly now. Her hair was braided but coming undone, with leaves and small twigs caught in the plaits. Her yellow t-shirt was torn at the shoulder, revealing a skinned elbow beneath. Dark stains, definitely blood, marked both knees through ripped jeans. Her feet were bare, the soles black with dirt and what looked like tar. "What's your name?" he asked softly, starting the engine but keeping the lights off. She stayed crouched low, below the window line. "Can't tell you. Not yet." "Okay, that's okay. But we need to drive," she interrupted. "Please, just drive." Nathan put the car in gear and rolled toward the exit, keeping his speed steady, unremarkable. As they approached the security booth, he saw the guard inside wasn't looking at them. He was turned away, apparently deep in conversation with someone Nathan couldn't see. The barrier arm was already up. They emerged into the late afternoon sunlight, and Nathan finally flicked on the headlights. In the mirror, the girl stayed low, her eyes constantly moving between the rear window and the side mirrors. She knew how to hide, how to watch. These weren't skills a 7-year-old should have. "Where are we going?" Nathan asked, merging into traffic on Ocean Boulevard. "Away," she whispered. "Just away from here." Nathan drove in silence for several minutes, his mind racing through options. Police station? Hospital? His head of security, Lucas, would know what to do. But every time he reached for his phone, the girl would tense, her breathing becoming sharp and panicked. They stopped at a red light near the Marina District. A white van, maybe the same one, maybe not, pulled up 2 lanes over. The girl slid down onto the floor, curling into a ball so small Nathan could barely see her in the mirror. "It's okay," he said, though he wasn't sure it was. "They can't see you. They saw me before," she whispered from the floor. "They saw me with you." "Who's they?" She peeked up just enough for him to see her eyes in the mirror. "The men who have. My brother. If they know you're helping me, they'll hurt him. They'll hurt him worse." The light turned green. Nathan drove, his hands steady on the wheel despite the chaos in his mind. 42 years of carefully controlled life, of measured risks and calculated decisions, and now this. A barefoot child in his back seat talking about men who hurt children. "How long have they had your brother?" 2 days. Maybe 3. I can't. Time gets weird in the dark. "You were with him. You were there too." She nodded, still on the floor. "I got out through a vent. Eli, my brother, he's too big. He made me go. Made me promise to get help." Nathan took a right turn, heading away from the main roads. His beach house was still 30 minutes away, but taking her there felt like crossing a line he couldn't uncross. Yet what choice did he have? The girl clearly wouldn't go to the police, and leaving her at a shelter or hospital seemed cruel given her obvious terror. "What's your name?" He tried again. This time, after a long pause, she answered. "Ava. Ava. I'm Nathan. I'm going to help you, okay? Both you and your brother." She climbed back onto the seat, though still hunched low. "You can't. You don't understand. These aren't regular bad guys. They have—" She stopped, biting her lip. "They have what? Friends. Everywhere. Even in the police. Eli heard them talking. That's why I can't. That's why we can't just call 911. Nathan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Every rational part of his brain screamed that this was insane, that children didn't stumble into corporate executives' cars with stories of kidnappers and corrupt cops. But the dirt under her fingernails was real. The fear in her eyes was real. The blood on her knees was real. "Ava, I need you to trust me. I have resources, people who can help. But I need to know more. Can you tell me where you were being held?" She shook her head. "Dark. Smelled like fish and rust. Dogs barking all the time. There were other kids too." Nathan's stomach turned. "How many?" "I don't know. Maybe 5. Maybe more. They kept us separated mostly." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "They were getting ready to move us. That's why I had to run when I did. Tonight, they said. They're moving everyone tonight." Nathan drove without a clear destination, his mind processing Ava's fragments of information while navigating the coastal highway's winding curves. The sun hung low over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. In any other circumstance, it would have been beautiful. Now it felt like a countdown clock. "Ava," he said gently, catching her eye in the mirror. "These men who took you, can you describe them?" She pulled her knees up to her chest, making herself even smaller in the leather seat. "The main one has a tattoo. A snake, wrapped around his whole arm. He's the mean one. He's the one who—" She stopped, her jaw clenching. "It's okay. You don't have to tell me everything right now. He hit Eli," she said suddenly, the words tumbling out. "When Eli tried to stop them from taking the little girl, there was a little girl, maybe 4. Eli tried to protect her, and the snake man hit him with something metal. His face was all swollen when I left." Nathan's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. He had no children of his own, had never particularly wanted them, but something about this girl's matter-of-fact delivery of horror made his chest tight. With fury, "We should stop," Ava said suddenly. "You need gas." Nathan glanced at the gauge, 3/4 full. "We have plenty." "No, we need to stop. Somewhere with people. Lots of people. They won't try anything with witnesses." The strategic thinking from someone so young unsettled him. Nathan took the next exit, following signs for a travel plaza. The parking lot buzzed with Friday evening travelers, families loading up for weekend trips, truckers stretching their legs. He pulled into a spot near the main entrance, where foot traffic was heaviest. "Smart," he said, and saw her almost smile. "Eli taught me. He said if someone's following you, go where there are cameras and normal people. Your brother sounds smart too. He's 9. He wants to be an engineer." Her voice cracked slightly. "Wanted. Wants. He still wants to be one." Nathan pulled out his phone, scrolling to Lucas's number. His security chief answered on the first ring. "Mr. Cole, Marcus told me you're driving yourself. Everything all right?" "Lucas, I need you to listen carefully and not ask questions until I'm done." Nathan kept his voice low and steady. "I have a situation. A young girl, approximately 7 years old, claims she escaped from kidnappers who still have her brother, and possibly other children. She says they're connected, possibly to law enforcement. I need you to. Where are you?" Lucas's voice had shifted into professional mode. "Travel Plaza off exit 42. I'm 20 minutes out. Don't move. Don't call anyone else." The line went dead. Nathan looked back at Ava, who was watching him with those 2 knowing eyes. "He's my head of security. Former Navy SEAL. If anyone can help us, it's him." "Us?" she repeated. "Yes, us. I'm not leaving you to handle this alone." She studied him for a long moment. "Why? You don't know me. This isn't your problem." Nathan thought about how to answer that. The truth was complicated. Something about her reminded him of himself at that age, after his parents died, when he'd been shuffled through foster homes with nothing but his wits to protect him. but that seemed too heavy to put on a child. Because it's the right thing to do, he said simply. Most people don't care about the right thing. Then I guess I'm not most people. A black SUV pulled into the lot too fast, then deliberately slowed, cruising the rows. Ava slid down in her seat, her breathing quickening. That's them. That's one of their cars. Nathan watched the SUV in his side mirror. Tinted windows, no plates visible from this angle. It parked 3 rows over, engine still running. We need to go inside, Nathan said. Can you walk normally? Like nothing's wrong. She nodded, though her hands were shaking. Nathan got out first, moving around to open her door like any father would for his daughter. She slipped her small hand into his, and he was struck by how cold her fingers were despite the warm evening. They walked toward the Travel Plaza's main entrance, Nathan forcing himself not to look back at the SUV. Inside, the artificial brightness and noise of the food court felt like stepping into another world. Families argued over dinner choices, teenagers clustered around phone charging stations. A baby cried somewhere near the restrooms. Bathroom, Ava whispered, tugging his hand. Nathan let her lead him toward the family restroom. She knew exactly where it was, he realized. She'd been here before, probably on this same escape route. Inside, she immediately went to the sink, turning on the water and scrubbing at her face and hands. They grabbed us from the park, she said, watching the dirt swirl down the drain. Tuesday, I think. Mom was at work. The lady at the after-school program was supposed to be watching us, but she was on her phone. The van pulled up, and the snake man said he was from child services, that there was an emergency with our mom. And you didn't believe him. Eli didn't. He tried to run, tried to pull me with him, but there were 2 other men. Big ones. They picked us up like we were nothing. She dried her hands on paper towels, her movements precise and controlled. There were already 2 kids in the van. A boy named Marcus and a girl who wouldn't tell us her name. She just cried. Nathan's phone buzzed. Lucas, gray Dodge Ram, back corner of lot. Come out the south entrance. Natural pace. Time to go, Nathan said. They exited through the south doors, Nathan keeping Ava on his right side, away from the parking lot center. The gray Dodge sat in the shadow of a semi-trailer, Lucas behind the wheel. They slipped into the back seat, and Lucas pulled out before the door was fully closed. The black SUV tried to follow you inside, Lucas said, his eyes constantly scanning mirrors. 2 men. One matches your snake tattoo description. Saw it when he reached for his phone. How did you? I've been tracking unusual child disappearance patterns for another client, Lucas said. Last 3 months, 8 kids gone from low-income neighborhoods. No Amber Alerts, minimal police response. Someone's keeping it quiet. He handed Nathan a tablet showing a map with red dots clustered. Near the industrial district by the docks. These are the disappearances. And this, he swiped to a satellite image, is a warehouse that's supposedly closed but shows a lot of night activity on thermal imaging. Ava leaned forward, her finger touching the screen. There. That building. I remember those containers. Outside, the blue ones. That's where they kept us. Lucas met Nathan's eyes in the rearview mirror. If she's right, we're talking about an organized operation. This isn't some random kidnapping. She says they have connections in the police, Nathan said, which would explain the lack of Amber Alerts. Lucas took a hard right, doubling back on their route. We're being followed. White van, 2 cars back. Nathan looked back, his arm instinctively going around Ava's shoulders. She pressed against him, her whole body trembling. If they see me with you, she whispered, they'll hurt Eli. They won't see you, Lucas said calmly. Nathan, there's a burner. Phone in the glove compartment. Call the number saved as clean. Tell them we need a switch at Point Delta. Nathan made the call, speaking only the coded phrase Lucas had given him. 5 minutes later, they pulled into an underground parking structure where an identical gray Dodge waited. They switched vehicles in under 30 seconds, Lucas transferring equipment Nathan didn't recognize from hidden compartments. The new vehicle exited through a different ramp, while the original continued on with a different driver. Lucas took them through a maze of residential streets, finally pulling into the garage of a modest 2-story house Nathan didn't recognize. Safe house, Lucas explained. Off the books. Even the company doesn't know about it. Inside the house was sparsely furnished but comfortable. Lucas immediately began pulling up multiple laptop screens on a dining room table, transforming the space into a mobile command center. Nathan found some juice and crackers in the kitchen, bringing them to Ava, who had curled up in a corner of the sofa like she was trying to disappear. "You need to eat something," he said gently. She took the juice but just held it, staring at the wall. "They said they were taking us to new families. Families that had paid for us. Like we were puppies or something." The word paid hit Nathan like cold water. This wasn't just kidnapping. It was trafficking. Lucas looked up from his screens. "Nathan, I've been running facial recognition on the snake tattoo description. Got a hit. Marcus Snake, Torino, multiple priors for assault, suspected connections to human trafficking, but never enough evidence to prosecute. And here's the interesting part. He's supposedly been working security for Vincent Hale's shipping company for the last 2 years." Nathan felt the blood drain from his face. Vincent Hale, his biggest competitor, the man who'd been trying to force a merger with Coal Industries for 3 years. The same man who showed up at every charity gala with his perfect family, making speeches about protecting children and supporting communities. "You know him," Lucas said. It wasn't a question. "We've had business dealings. He's been pushing hard for access to our shipping routes, our dock facilities." Nathan's mind raced through recent interactions, looking for signs he'd missed. If he's using his logistics network for trafficking, it would explain his interest in your company's infrastructure, Lucas finished. Perfect cover for moving cargo internationally. Ava had gone very still, the juice box trembling in her hands. "Hale, I heard that name." The snake man was on the phone, said something about Mr. Hale wanting the shipment ready by tomorrow night. "Shipment," Nathan repeated, the word tasting like ash. "They're planning to move the kids tomorrow." Lucas was already typing. "I can mobilize a team, but if Hale really has people in the police, we need federal involvement." "FBI? Maybe. They'll take too long." Ava interrupted, her voice fierce. "Eli doesn't have time for paperwork and investigations. They'll move him tomorrow, and he'll be gone forever." She was right, Nathan realized. The bureaucracy would take days, maybe weeks. By then, Eli and the other children would have vanished into whatever nightmare Hale had planned. "Then we go tonight," Nathan said, surprising himself with the decision. "We get evidence, document everything, and we get those kids out." Lucas looked at him steadily. "You understand what you're saying? If we do this wrong, if Hale really has the connections we think, you could lose everything. Your company, your reputation." "My reputation won't mean much if I let children be sold while I sat in a safe house worried about stock prices," Nathan interrupted. For the first time since she'd entered his car, Ava smiled, small and tentative, but real. "You really aren't like most people." Nathan's phone rang, his personal line. The caller ID showed Vincent Hale's name. Nathan held up a hand for silence, then answered. "Nathan, I heard you had some car trouble this evening." Hale's voice was smooth as oil. "Something about a confused child in the parking garage. I do hope everything's all right." The words were casual, but the threat underneath was clear. "I know what you have, and I know where you are." "Everything's fine, Vincent. You know how it is. Good Samaritan instincts kick in when you see a lost kid." Of course. Though, I'd be careful, Nathan. Sometimes children lie. Sometimes they're not lost at all. They're running from consequences of their own making. Would hate for you to get caught up in someone else's mess. I appreciate the concern." "Oh, it's more than concern, friend. It's advice. The kind of advice smart businessmen take." "See you at the Marina Charity Gala tomorrow." "Wouldn't miss it." The line went dead. Nathan looked at Lucas, who was already tracing the call, and then at Ava, whose face had gone pale. "He knows," she whispered. "He knows where I am." "No," Nathan said firmly. "He's fishing. If he knew where we were, he wouldn't call. He'd just come." But even as he said it, Nathan wondered if they'd already run out of time. Somewhere in the city, Eli and the other children were waiting in the dark, and tomorrow night, they'd be gone forever. Unless Nathan did something he'd never imagined himself capable of. He looked at Ava, at her dirty feet and torn clothes and fierce, desperate hope, and made a decision that would change everything. "Lucas, call your team. We're going to that warehouse." The safe house had settled into an uneasy quiet after Hale's threatening phone call. Nathan watched Ava pick at the sandwich Lucas had made for her eyes growing heavy despite her obvious effort to stay alert. She'd been running on adrenaline for days, and now, in relative safety, Exhaustion was winning. There's a bedroom. Upstairs, Nathan said gently. You should rest. I can't sleep. What if they come? What if? I'll be right here. Lucas has cameras on every entrance. No one's getting in without us knowing. She looked at him with those two old eyes, then nodded slowly. Nathan led her upstairs to a small room with a single bed and a dresser. In the closet, he found a box labeled emergency clothes, children, and pulled out a clean t-shirt and sweatpants. These might be a little big, but they're clean. Ava took them carefully, running her fingers over the soft fabric. My mom would do this. Keep extra clothes for kids at the shelter where she volunteers. Used to volunteer. Her voice caught. Before Dad died and she had to take extra shifts. Tell me about your mom, Nathan said, sitting on the edge of the bed. Her name's Layla. She works at the hospital, in the kitchen. She makes the best mac and cheese. Not from a box, but real cheese she grates herself. Ava's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. She's probably going crazy looking for us. She gets off work at 6, and when we weren't home, she must think we're dead. We'll find a way to let her know you're safe. You can't. They said they're watching her. If she acts different, if she goes to the police, they'll know. Nathan made a mental note to have Lucas look into Layla's situation. If Hale's people were watching her, they needed to be careful. Get some rest, he said, standing. I'll be downstairs if you need anything. Nathan, she called as he reached the door. Thank you for believing me. Most grown-ups wouldn't have. He nodded, not trusting his voice, and closed the door softly behind him. Downstairs, Lucas had transformed the dining table into a tactical command center. Multiple screens showed satellite imagery, city maps, and scrolling data Nathan couldn't immediately parse. She asleep? Lucas asked without looking up. Trying to be. What have you found? Lucas turned one of the laptops toward Nathan. This warehouse Ava identified. It's interesting. Supposedly been closed for 3 years, but power consumption suggests otherwise. And look at this. He pulled up a property records. Owned by a shell company that traces back through 4 layers of paperwork to, let me guess, Vincent Hale. His wife, actually. Margaret Hale is listed as the sole proprietor of Seaside Holdings LLC, which owns Coastal Imports, which owns the warehouse. Nathan studied the screen. Plausible deniability. If anything goes wrong, Vincent can claim he had no knowledge of his wife's business dealings. Exactly. But here's where it gets more interesting. Lucas pulled up another screen showing financial transactions. Your company recently purchased 3 lots adjacent to this warehouse district for the new distribution center. The purchase went through 2 weeks ago. I remember. The board pushed hard for that location. Nathan's stomach turned. You think someone on my board is involved? Or being manipulated? Look at the timing. Kids start disappearing 3 months ago, right when negotiations for those properties began. Hale's warehouse sits right in the middle of your purchased land. He'd need to move his operation. So he's accelerating his timeline. Moving the kids before we take possession and start construction. Nathan ran his hand through his hair. Christ, Lucas. How deep does this go? Deep enough that we need to be very careful. I've been monitoring police channels. There's been no mention of Ava or Eli being missing. No Amber Alert, no Bolo, nothing. Either their mother hasn't reported it, or someone's buried the report. Nathan stood, pacing to the window. Outside, suburban streets lay quiet under streetlights. Normal. Families living normal lives behind drawn curtains. Can you get eyes on the warehouse tonight? Already dispatched 2 of my guys. Former Marines, completely trustworthy. They're setting up surveillance now. Lucas's phone buzzed. He read the message, his expression darkening. Nathan, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Lucas turned the phone toward him. The screen showed a grainy security camera image of Nathan's beach house. 2 men in dark clothing were visible near the back entrance, one working on the door lock. They're at your house. Nathan felt his blood chill. The beach house was his sanctuary, purchased under his sister's trust before she died. The one place no one from his corporate world knew about. How did they find it? Your phone, probably. GPS tracking. Or someone at your company gave them your personal information. Lucas was already typing. I've got local security responding, but they're 15 minutes out. A small sound from the stairs made them both turn. Ava stood there in the borrowed clothes, which indeed hung loose on her small frame. I couldn't sleep, she said, then saw their expressions. What's wrong? Nothing you need to worry about. Nathan started, but she cut him off. Don't lie to me. Please. Everyone lies to kids, thinking they're protecting us, but it just makes things worse. Nathan exchanged a look with Lucas, then nodded. They're at my beach house. Looking for you. Ava processed this, then walked to the table, studying the screens with surprising focus. Can I see the warehouse pictures? Lucas pulled up the surveillance footage his team had just sent. The building squatted in the industrial district like a cancer, surrounded by chain link and razor wire. Several white vans were parked in a loading bay. Ava pointed to a section of the building. There. That's where they kept us. See that vent? On the roof? That's how I got out. It leads to an air duct that runs along the ceiling. The grate in our room was loose. Eli worked on it for hours with a piece of metal he found. She moved to another screen, grabbing a pencil and paper. With quick, confident strokes, she began drawing a rough floor plan. Entry here, hallway here. They kept us in this room. I heard dogs somewhere around here. And there was another room here where I heard crying. Little kids, younger than me. Nathan watched, amazed at her recall and spatial awareness. You remember all this? Eli made me memorize it. He said if one of us got out, we needed to be able to tell someone exactly where to find the others. Her hand trembled slightly as she added. More details. The man with the snake tattoo has an office here. I saw it when they moved us to use the bathroom. There was a clipboard on his desk with names and prices. Prices? Lucas asked gently. Different amounts next to each name. Eli was $50,000. I was $35,000. The little girl who wouldn't stop crying was $75,000. Nathan's hands clenched into fists. They were putting price tags on children like they were merchandise. Lucas's phone rang. He listened briefly, then hung up. My team at the warehouse reports increased activity. 3 more vans just arrived. They're loading something. There. Moving them tonight, Ava said, panic creeping into her voice. You said tomorrow, but they're doing it tonight. We don't know that for sure. Yes, we do. That's what they do when something goes wrong. Eli heard them talking about it. If there's heat, they move the merchandise immediately. She grabbed Nathan's arm. We have to go now. Nathan looked at Lucas. How many men do you have? For at the warehouse, 2 more I can call in. But Nathan, if we go in guns blazing without proper backup, we won't. Nathan's mind shifted into the strategic mode that had built his empire. We need evidence first. Something irrefutable that forces law enforcement to act, even if there are corrupt cops. The office, Ava said suddenly. The Snake Man's office. Has cameras that record everything. He showed us the footage once, said if we tried to escape, he'd know. But that means the recordings would show the children, the money exchanges, maybe even conversations about the operation. Lucas nodded. If we could get those drives, Nathan's phone rang. Vincent Hale again. This time, Nathan put it on speaker. Nathan, I do hope you've reconsidered our earlier conversation. Sometimes lost children are better off staying lost. Is that a threat, Vincent? A philosophy? You know, I've been thinking about our merger discussions. Perhaps we could revisit them. I might be willing to sweeten my offer considerably. Say an extra $50 million? All you'd need to do is forget about your good Samaritan impulses for one evening. $50 million to look the other way. Nathan felt sick. That's a generous offer, he said, playing along. But you know me, Vincent. I like to understand all the angles before I make a decision. Of course. Tell you what, why don't we discuss it in person? I'm having a small gathering at my yacht club tomorrow morning. Very private, very discreet. We could outline terms that benefit everyone. I'll think about it. Do. And Nathan? That confused little girl you helped? I heard she found her way home. Wonderful how these things work out. The line went dead. Nathan looked at Ava, whose face had gone pale. He wants you to think I'm gone, she whispered. So you'll stop looking. Lucas stood abruptly. Nathan, look at this. On one of the screens, a face had appeared in the warehouse surveillance. A woman in a police uniform, talking to Snake Torino. Lucas enhanced the image, running it through facial recognition. Deputy Commissioner Patricia Brandt, second in command of the entire police force. Lucas's voice was grim. If she's involved, then we really are on our own, Nathan finished. The next morning arrived gray and misty, fog rolling in from the ocean to blanket the city in a damp shroud. Nathan stood at the safe house window, watching the street while Lucas coordinated with his surveillance team via encrypted channels. Ava had finally fallen asleep on the couch, her hand clutched around something at her neck, a small locket Nathan hadn't noticed before. "My guys report the warehouse is quiet," Lucas said softly. "Whatever they moved last night, it's done. But thermal imaging still shows heat signatures inside. At least 6 people, including kids. Can't tell from thermal alone, but the patterns suggest it. Some signatures are smaller, moving less." Nathan's phone buzzed with a calendar reminder, the yacht club meeting with Hale. He'd made his decision during the sleepless night. "I'm going," he told Lucas. "That's insane. He'll be surrounded by his people." "Exactly. He'll be comfortable, maybe even careless. I need to look him in the eye, get a read on him. And I'll be wearing this." Nathan held up a pen Lucas had given him, a recording device disguised as a Mont Blanc. "If he suspects, he won't. Vincent's ego is his weakness. He thinks he's already won, that money solves everything. He's about to learn otherwise." Ava stirred on the couch, blinking awake. "You're going to meet him? The bad man?" Nathan knelt beside her. "I need information. The more we know about his operation, the better chance we have of saving Eli." She studied his face, then reached up and unclasped her locket. "Take this." "Ava, I couldn't. It's my good luck charm. My dad gave it to me before he died. It keeps people safe." She pressed it into his hand. "Bring it back, okay? With Eli." Nathan clasped the small locket, feeling its weight despite its size. "I promise." An hour later, Nathan pulled into the Marina Yacht Club, his Mercedes pristine after a quick wash to maintain appearances. The valet who took his keys was one of Hale's men. Nathan recognized the type, too alert for simple parking duty. The club's interior was all mahogany and brass, old money pretending at nautical tradition. Hale waited in a private dining room, overlooking the harbor, his silver hair perfectly styled, his navy blazer immaculate. "Nathan, so good of you to come." Hale stood, extending his hand. Nathan shook it, noting the manicured nails, the absence of calluses. This was a man who had others do his dirty work. "Vincent, interesting proposition last night. Straight to business. I always like that about you." Hale poured 2 glasses of scotch from a crystal decanter. 30-year-old Macallan. "My private reserve." They sat facing each other across a small table. Through the windows, million-dollar yachts bobbed in their slips, symbols of success that now seemed hollow to Nathan. "So," Hale began, "let's discuss terms. Your company backs off the warehouse district development for, say, 6 months. Maybe you discover some environmental concerns, need more surveys. In exchange, I'll not only provide the 50 million but also guarantee no competition for your Singapore expansion. And what exactly are you doing in that warehouse that's worth 50 million to protect?" Hale's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Import-export. Specialty goods for discerning clients. Children." Nathan said it flatly, watching Hale's reaction. For a split second, Hale's mask slipped, revealing something cold and predatory underneath. Then the smile returned, wider than before. "That's a serious accusation, Nathan. The kind that could ruin a man's reputation, or his company, or his life. It's not an accusation if it's true." Hale leaned back, swirling his scotch. "Truth is subjective. What's true is that I provide a service. There are people in this world with particular needs, particular desires. I simply facilitate transactions. You're trafficking children. I'm solving problems. Do you know how many unwanted children there are in this city? Living in poverty, neglected, abused? I give them opportunities for better lives. You sell them. I relocate them to families who can provide advantages their birth. Parents never could." Hale's voice hardened. "Don't pretend moral superiority, Nathan. Your fortune is built on exploiting market inefficiencies, buying low and selling high. I do the same thing, just with a different commodity." Nathan's stomach turned, but he kept his expression neutral, aware the pen was recording everything. "And if I refuse your offer? Then you'll discover how many friends I have in useful places. Deputy Commissioner Brandt, for instance, is very concerned about reports of a CEO involved in kidnapping a young girl from a parking garage. Security footage can be so damning when edited properly." "You're threatening me." "I'm explaining reality. You have 2 choices, Nathan. Take my money, forget what you think you know, and continue your successful life. Or persist in this misguided crusade and lose everything. Your company, your reputation, possibly your freedom. Nathan stood. I need time to think. Of course, but not too much time. My cargo ships sail on tight schedules. Hale stood as well, straightening his jacket. Oh, and Nathan? That charming little girl you've been harboring? Ava, isn't it? Remarkable child. Her brother Eli is even more impressive. Such a shame they won't see each other again. The threat was clear. Nathan forced himself to remain calm. We'll talk soon. Vincent. As Nathan walked toward the door, Hale called after him. One more thing. You might want to check in with your CFO, Veronica Ames. She's been very helpful in facilitating certain land acquisitions. It would be unfortunate if her involvement became public knowledge. Nathan left without responding, his mind racing. Veronica, his trusted CFO, was working with Hale. The betrayal stung, but it also explained how Hale had known so much about Nathan's movements and plans that in the parking lot. Nathan noticed one of Hale's security men photographing his license plate while talking on a phone. They were tracking him openly now, wanting him to know he was being watched. Nathan drove carefully, taking a circuitous route back to the safe house. He stopped once to transfer the recording from the pen to his phone, uploading it to multiple cloud servers. Whatever happened next, Hale's confession would survive. Back at the safe house, Lucas was waiting with urgent news. We've identified 3 more locations connected to Hale's operation. 2 are listed as shipping containers at the port. 1 is a defunct fishing boat moored at Pier 47. How many kids total? Based on thermal imaging and movement patterns, at least 12, possibly more. Ava, who had been drawing more detailed maps, looked up. 12 sounds right. That's how many meals they brought sometimes. Nathan played the recording from his meeting with Hale. Lucas's expression darkened with each word, while Ava's hands clenched into small fists. He admitted it. Lucas said, "This is evidence. Not enough. A good lawyer would argue he was speaking hypothetically, playing along with my delusions. We need physical evidence, documents, the children themselves. Then we go tonight," Ava said firmly. "While he thinks you're still deciding." Nathan's phone rang. Veronica Ames. "Nathan, we need to talk," she said without preamble. "I know you met with Vincent. I know what you're thinking. Please, let me explain." "Explain what, Veronica? That you've been feeding him information? That you're helping him traffic children? It's not what you think. Can we meet? Privately? I have information you need, but I can't do this over the phone." Nathan looked at Lucas, who shrugged. It could be a trap, or it could be the break they needed. Where? The old Coleman building, 10th floor. It's being renovated. No one will be there on Saturday. 1 hour. She hung up. Nathan weighed the risks. The Coleman building was neutral ground, too public for Hale to try anything dramatic. "I'm coming with you," Lucas said. "So am I," Ava added. "Absolutely not. You need me," she interrupted. "I know things, details about the operation. If she tries to lie, I'll know." Against his better judgment, Nathan agreed. They took Lucas's personal vehicle, a nondescript Toyota that wouldn't draw attention. The Coleman building stood in the financial district, its lower floors busy with shopping and restaurants, its upper floors empty, pending renovation. They took the service elevator to the 10th floor. Veronica was already there, standing by the windows overlooking the city. She turned as they entered, her usually perfect composure cracked with visible stress. "Nathan, she stopped, seeing Ava. "You brought her. Good. That's good. Start talking, Veronica." "I've been gathering evidence for the FBI for 6 months," she said in a rush. "Vincent approached me a year ago about facilitating some financial transfers. I suspected something illegal and went to the authorities. They asked me to play along, to gather intelligence." "Prove it," Lucas said flatly. Veronica pulled out a phone, showing them a badge on the screen. "Special Agent Sarah Chun, FBI Human Trafficking Task Force. She's my handler. We're building a RICO case against Hale's entire network." "If the FBI knows, why haven't they acted?" Nathan demanded. "Because it goes deeper than just Hale. There's a whole network, politicians, judges, business leaders. We need to map the entire organization before we move, or the key players will escape. Meanwhile, children are being sold," Nathan said coldly. "I know. God, I know. It kills me every day. But if we move too soon, we save a dozen kids and lose the chance to save hundreds." Ava stepped forward. "Where's my brother?" Veronica knelt. To meet her eyes. He's being held on the boat at Pier 47. They're planning to move him and 3 others tonight at midnight. International waters transfer to a cargo ship bound for Southeast Asia. Then we stop them, Nathan said. You can't. If you interfere now, you'll blow the entire investigation. Months of work. I don't care about your investigation, Nathan interrupted. I care about those kids. Nathan, please. Give us 24 more hours. We're coordinating a simultaneous raid on all locations. Every child will be saved, every perpetrator arrested. You don't have 24 hours. Eli and the others will be gone by then. Veronica stood, pulling out a tablet. Then, we accelerate. I'll contact Agent Chun, explain the situation. Maybe we can. The elevator dinged. They all turned as the doors opened, revealing Snake Torino and 2 other men, all armed. Well, Snake said, his tattoo visible as he raised his weapon. Mr. Hale thought you might try something like this. Fortunately, we've been monitoring Ms. Ames's communications. Veronica's face went white. No, I encrypted everything. Your FBI phone, sure. But not your personal cell. The one you used to call Mr. Cole. Snake smiled, revealing gold teeth. Mr. Hale is very disappointed in both of you. He wanted to handle this civilized, but you had to push. Lucas stepped forward, shielding Ava. Let the girl go. She's no threat to you. The girl is worth 35 grand to the right buyer. She's coming with us. Snake gestured with his gun. All of you, move to the windows. Nathan's mind raced, looking for options. They were 10 floors up, no other exits, 3 armed men between them and the elevator. Then, Ava did something unexpected. She started crying. Not the quiet tears Nathan had seen before, but full-bodied sobs of a terrified child. Please, she wailed. I want my mommy. I want to go home. Snake rolled his eyes. Shut her up. One of his men moved toward Ava. The moment he got close, she dropped to the ground and rolled hard into his legs. He stumbled, his gun swinging wide. Lucas moved instantly, his training taking over. He grabbed the man's gun hand, twisting until the weapon fell, then drove an elbow into his throat. The second man raised his weapon toward Lucas, but Nathan threw himself forward, tackling him around the waist. They crashed into a pillar, the gun spinning across the floor. Snake aimed at Veronica, who stood frozen. Nobody move, or Ava, still on the ground, grabbed the fallen gun and pointed it at Snake with both hands. Let them go. Snake laughed. Little girl, you don't even know how to. The gun fired, the bullet hitting the window behind Snake, spiderwebbing the glass. Ava's hands were steady despite the weapon's recoil. My daddy taught me, she said quietly, before he died. The next one won't miss. The standoff in the Coleman building held for 3 heartbeats. Ava's small hands kept the gun trained on Snake Torino, while Lucas maintained his chokehold on the second man. Nathan pressed his weight against the third attacker, keeping him pinned to the pillar. You won't shoot, Snake said, but uncertainty flickered in his eyes. You're just a kid. I'm the kid who got away, Ava replied, her voice steady. The one you said you'd hurt if you caught again. Remember what you told Eli? What you'd do to me? Snake's face darkened. He took a step forward, the gun fired again, this time the bullet grazing his shoulder. He cursed, dropping his weapon to clutch the wound. Next one goes in your knee, Ava said. Daddy said kneecaps never heal right. Lucas finished choking out his opponent, letting the unconscious man drop. He moved swiftly to collect the fallen weapons while Nathan zip-tied the hands of the man he'd tackled using supplies from Lucas's tactical vest. Veronica, who'd been frozen during the confrontation, suddenly moved. She grabbed Snake's dropped phone from the floor. This is Hale's burner. It might have, she scrolled rapidly. Oh my God. The boat manifest. All the kids' names, their destinations, the buyers. We need to move, Lucas said, zip-tying Snake's hands despite his protests about his shoulder. If they were supposed to check in, Snake laughed through his pain. You're already dead. Hale has eyes everywhere. You can't. Lucas pressed a pressure point that made Snake go silent, his eyes rolling back as he lost consciousness. Taught me that in the SEALs, Lucas said calmly. He'll wake up in an hour with a hell of a headache. They took the service elevator down, Ava still clutching the gun until Nathan gently took it from her. Her hands were shaking now, the adrenaline wearing off. You did good, he told her. You saved us. I didn't want to shoot him, she whispered. But he was going to hurt you. All of you. Because of me. No, Nathan said firmly. Because of what he is. None of this is your fault. In the parking garage, they transferred to Lucas's Toyota. Veronica followed in her own car after Nathan insisted they couldn't trust her enough to bring her to the safe house. She'd given them the FBI contact and the boat manifest. That was enough for now. As Lucas drove, he kept checking mirrors. We've got a tail. Black SUV, 3 cars back. Lose them, Nathan said. Lucas killed the headlights and took a hard right onto the coastal access road. The SUV overshot the turn, tires squealing as it tried to correct. Lucas used those seconds to slip under an old pier's shadows, parking behind a seafood delivery truck. They sat in darkness, Ava's hand instinctively covering Nathan's mouth, a gesture that had become their signal for absolute silence. Through the gaps in the pier's planking, they watched flashlight beams sweep the area as men searched. Nathan's phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. Warehouse C-17 has an interior steel room. Code pad is disabled at night. Guard uses a key on a lanyard. Lucas saw it too. Who knows you're involved? No one except. Nathan stopped. The text had details too specific to be random. Someone inside Hale's organization was helping them. After 10 minutes, the searchers gave up. Lucas started the engine, keeping the lights off as they crept along back roads toward the Marina District. We need a boat, Lucas said. If those kids are being transferred at midnight from Pier 47, approaching by water is our best option. I know someone, Nathan said, remembering a client who owned a marina. But first, we need backup. Lucas made a call to his remaining team members. Emergency. Protocol. Marina District, Pier 47. Full tactical load. They stopped at a storage unit Lucas maintained, gathering equipment. Nathan didn't want to know the legality of night vision goggles, zip ties, smoke grenades, and what looked like signal jammers. The boat transfer happens at midnight. Veronica's. Information confirmed. That gives us 3 hours. Nathan's phone rang. The unknown number. Don't speak, a woman's voice said. Just listen. The children on the boat are in the forward cargo hold. There's a maintenance hatch on the port side that's usually unlocked. 2 guards on deck, 1 below. The snake man you encountered has a brother who runs the boat crew. They're armed, but not professional. Mostly dock workers making extra money. Who are you? Nathan asked despite the instruction. Someone who believed in the wrong people for too long. The line went dead. The marina. Nathan's client asked no questions, simply handing over keys to a small maintenance skiff. Whatever you're doing, I didn't see you. They launched from a quiet boat ramp 2 piers over from 47. The fog had thickened, turning the harbor into a maze of gray shadows and muffled sounds. Lucas steered while Nathan used binoculars to scan ahead. The boat came into view, a converted fishing trawler, maybe 60 feet, riding low in the water. Through the binoculars, Nathan could see 2 men on deck, assault rifles casual in their hands. There, Ava pointed to a section of pier. Those are the dogs I heard. Indeed, Nathan could make out kennels with what looked like guard dogs. They'd have to approach from the water. Lucas anchored the skiff behind a navigation buoy. They had an hour until midnight. Through the night vision goggles, Nathan watched crew members loading supplies onto the trawler. His stomach turned when he saw small figures being led up the gangplank. Children, their hands bound, heads down. Eli. Ava started to stand, but Lucas pulled her down. Which one? Nathan asked. The tall one. Third in line. Nathan focused the binoculars. A boy, maybe 9, with Ava's same determined chin despite his circumstances. His face showed bruising, but he walked steadily, even seeming to help steady a smaller child beside him. We need a distraction, Lucas said. Something to pull those guards away from the boat. Nathan remembered the security office at the pier. Can you trigger the fire alarm system? Better. I can trigger everything. Fire, security, hazmat. The whole pier will light up like Christmas. They waited, watching the clock. At 11:45, Lucas sent the signal to his team. Suddenly, alarms began wailing across the pier. Strobe lights flashed, and the automatic sprinkler systems activated, sending streams of water across the loading areas. The guards on the trawler looked confused, shouting to each other over the noise. One ran down the gangplank to investigate. The other moved to the bridge, probably to radio for information. Now, Lucas whispered. They swam the 30 yards to the trawler, the cold water shocking but manageable. The maintenance hatch there, mysterious informant had mentioned, was indeed unlocked. They slipped inside, finding themselves in a narrow corridor that reeked of fish and diesel. Voices came from ahead, children crying, someone telling them to shut up. Nathan peered around. A corner. A single guard sat in a chair outside a locked door, looking bored and irritated by the continuing alarms. Lucas moved like smoke. One moment the guard was sitting, the next he was unconscious on the floor. Lucas took his keys, unlocking the door. Inside, 12 children huddled together in a space meant for cargo. The smell was overwhelming. Fear and unwashed bodies and despair. But when Eli saw Ava, his face transformed. Ava! His voice cracked with disbelief. She ran to him, throwing her arms around his neck. I told you I'd come back. I told you. We need to move, Lucas said urgently. Can they all swim? Several children shook their heads, too traumatized to speak. Nathan made a decision. We're not swimming. We're taking the boat. Lucas stared at him. That's insane. No, it's unexpected. They won't anticipate us stealing their own transport. They moved the children quickly but quietly up to the deck. The remaining guard was still on the bridge, his back to them as he tried to raise someone on the radio through the static. Lucas's jammers were working. Nathan climbed to the bridge while Lucas secured the children in the main cabin. The guard turned just as Nathan reached him, his eyes widening. Before he could shout, Nathan hit him with a fire extinguisher Lucas had passed him. The man crumpled. Can you drive this thing? Lucas called up. Nathan looked at the controls. He'd taken yacht lessons years ago, a corporate bonding exercise. Close enough. He started the engines, their rumble drowning out some of the pier alarms. The gangplank was still down, no time to raise it. Nathan threw the throttle forward, and the trawler lurched away from the pier. Shouts erupted behind them. The guard, who'd gone to investigate, came running back, raising his rifle. Lucas appeared on deck with his own weapon, firing warning shots that sent the man diving for cover. They cleared the pier, heading for open water. Nathan's plan was simple. Get far enough out that Hale's men couldn't follow, then radio the coast. Guard with their location and the evidence. But as they passed the harbor's breakwater, another boat's spotlight blazed to life. A speedboat, much faster than the trawler, with more armed men. They're going to catch us, Lucas said grimly. Nathan pushed the throttle harder, but the trawler was built for stability, not speed. The speedboat gained rapidly. Then, unexpectedly, a Coast Guard cutter appeared out of the fog, its own spotlights blazing. A loudspeaker crackled. All vessels, this is the U.S. Coast Guard. Cut your engines immediately. The speedboat tried to turn, but a second cutter appeared, boxing them in. Nathan gladly killed the trawler's engines. Within minutes, Coast Guard personnel boarded both vessels. Nathan handed over Snake's phone with the manifest, Veronica's FBI contact information, and his own recorded confession from Hale. We got a tip, the Coast Guard commander told Nathan. Anonymous caller said children were being trafficked tonight. Gave us exact coordinates. Their mysterious ally again. Nathan wondered who she was, what her story might be. The Coast Guard station became a controlled chaos of federal agents, social workers, and medical personnel. The 12 children were examined, treated, and gradually interviewed. Nathan stayed with Ava and Eli, who refused to be separated again. Special Agent Sarah Chun, Veronica's FBI handler, arrived within an hour. She was younger than Nathan expected, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Mr. Cole, you've created something of a situation, she said, pulling him aside. We had operations planned. Those kids would have been gone by morning. Nathan interrupted. Your operation would have saved empty buildings. She studied him. Perhaps. But now Hale knows we're coming. He's probably destroying evidence as we speak. Nathan pulled out his phone, showing her the cloud servers where he'd uploaded everything. The confession, the financial records Veronica provided, the manifest, it's all here. Multiple copies. Chin's expression shifted. You recorded Hale? Every word. Him admitting to trafficking, threatening me, naming Deputy Commissioner Brandt as an accomplice. Play it. Nathan did, as Hale's voice filled the room, admitting to facilitating transactions and relocating children. Chin's face grew grimmer. This is good, but a defense attorney could argue, there's more. Nathan showed her the pictures Lucas's team had taken, the warehouse, the vans, the documentation Snake had been carrying, and 12 living witnesses in the next room. Chun made a call. We're moving now. All teams, all locations. Go, go, go. Within minutes, reports started coming in. FBI raids across the city, targeting the warehouse, Hale's offices, and several residences. But the biggest catch was yet to come. Nathan's phone rang. Hale, answer it, Chin said, activating a recording device. Keep him talking. Vincent, Nathan, answered calmly. You've ruined everything. Hale's composure was gone, replaced by rage. Do you have any idea what you've done? The people involved in this, they don't forgive, Nathan. You've signed your own death warrant. Where are you, Vincent? Somewhere. You'll never find me. But I'll find you. You and that little bitch who started all this. Mr. Hale, Chin took the phone. This is Special Agent Chun with the FBI. We have your warehouse, your boats, your files, and your people. Deputy Commissioner Brandt is already in custody. It's over. Silence. Then, you have nothing that will stick. My lawyers, your lawyers will be busy with their own problems. We have the financial records showing they knew about and facilitated money laundering. The line went dead. Chin handed the phone back. He'll run. They always do. But we'll find him. As dawn broke, Nathan stood outside the Coast Guard station, exhausted but unable to rest. Lucas emerged with coffee and updates. They found 3 more kids at the warehouse. Veronica's intel was good. The FBI's moving on all of it. 14 arrests so far, including 3 city officials. What about the kids? Social Services is working on reunification. Most have families looking for them. Lucas paused. Ava and Eli's mother is on her way. Turns out she's been calling the police every hour for 3 days, but someone kept deleting the reports. Nathan felt a weight lift. Layla would get her children back. A car pulled up, and a woman burst out. Tall, thin, with Ava's eyes and Eli's determined chin. Layla ran toward the entrance just as her children emerged. The reunion was everything Nathan had hoped. Tears, fierce embraces, whispered promises that they were safe now, that she'd never let them go. Ava pulled away for a moment, looking for Nathan. She ran to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. You did it, she whispered. You saved us. You saved yourself, Nathan replied. And you saved me too. From being someone who could have looked away. Layla approached, Eli's hand in hers. You're Nathan Cole? He nodded, suddenly uncertain. Ava told me everything. What you risked, what? You did. Tears streamed down her face. How do I thank you for bringing my babies back? You don't need to. She hugged him fiercely, cutting off his words. There aren't enough words. But thank you. Thank you. Over the next hours, the full scope of the operation became clear. Hale's network had trafficked over 100 children. In the past year, selling them domestically and internationally. The FBI raids recovered detailed records, names, dates, transactions, buyers. It would take months to unravel it all, but the foundation was destroyed. Veronica appeared, looking haggard but relieved. The boards called an emergency meeting. They want your head for endangering the company. Nathan almost laughed. Let them come. I've already submitted my resignation, she continued. My FBI work is done, but I can't stay after deceiving everyone, even for good reasons. You were protecting children. That's all that matters. She smiled sadly. I wish corporate America saw it that way. By evening, the media had the story. Nathan watched news vans gather outside the Coast Guard station, reporters clamoring for details. Chin advised him to stay quiet. Let the FBI control the narrative, but Nathan had other ideas that he walked outside, into the glare of cameras and shouting questions. The noise died as he stood at the make phones, Ava's locket still in his pocket. 3 days ago, he began. A 7-year-old girl got into my car and told me to shut up because bad men were chasing her. I could have called security, could have driven her to the nearest police station and forgotten about it. That would have been the smart business decision. He paused, seeing Ava and Eli watching from the window, their mother between them. But sometimes the smart decision isn't the right decision. Sometimes you have to risk everything to protect those who can't protect themselves. Vincent Hale and his network thought children were commodities to be bought and sold. They thought money and power made them untouchable. They were wrong. Mr. Cole, a reporter shouted, weren't you afraid for your life? Your company, terrified, Nathan admitted. But there's something worse than fear. It's knowing you could have helped and choosing not to. Every child recovered today is going home because people chose courage over comfort, right over easy. What about Hale? He's still missing. Nathan looked directly at the cameras. Vincent, if you're watching, and I know you are, your ego won't let you not watch. You can run, but those children's testimonies will follow you. Every law enforcement agency in the world will have your face. Your money won't protect you anymore. Later that night, Nathan finally made it to his beach house. The real one, not the compromised one Hale's men had searched. He stood on the deck, watching moonlight dance on the waves, when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Thank you for not giving up. My daughter was one of the 3 at the warehouse. She's home now. Detective Amani Brooks, Internal Affairs. So that was their mysterious ally. A cop trying to clean up her own department from the inside, feeding them information while maintaining her cover. Another text, this from Agent Chun. Hale was arrested trying to board a private jet to Cambodia. Brandt gave him up for a plea deal. It's really over. Nathan felt the tension he'd carried for days finally release. It was over, but also just beginning. The trials would take months, maybe years. The children would need therapy, support, and time to heal. The system that had allowed this to happen needed fundamental change. His phone rang. Ava's voice was bright, excited. Mom says we can visit you sometimes. If you want. I'd like that very much. And Nathan? I've been thinking. When I grow up, I want to help kids like us. Kids who need someone to believe them. You already have, Nathan said. You saved your brother, those other children. You saved me from being someone who could ignore injustice. You weren't like most people, she said, echoing her words from that first night. After they hung up, Nathan made a decision. The next morning, he would announce the creation of the Cole Foundation for Missing and Exploited Children, funded with the $50 million Hale had tried to bribe him with. Money he'd sue for and win from Hale's frozen assets. But tonight, he just stood on his deck, Ava's locket warm in his hand, watching the ocean and thinking about a brave little girl who'd changed everything with 2 words, shut up. The weeks that followed brought a media storm. Nathan testified before Congress about human trafficking, using his platform to push for stronger laws and better protection for vulnerable children. The Cole Foundation partnered with existing organizations, funding safe houses, therapy programs, and a dedicated tip line that actually got investigated. Vincent Hale was convicted on 47 counts, sentenced to life without parole. Deputy Commissioner Brandt got 25 years and gave up names that led to dozens more arrests. The snake-tattooed man, Marcus Torino, pleaded guilty and testified against his employers in exchange for a reduced sentence. Through it all, Ava and Eli visited Nathan regularly. He helped with homework, attended Eli's science fairs, and watched Ava slowly transform from a traumatized survivor to a fierce advocate for other children. She spoke at the Cole Foundation's first fundraiser, her small voice filling a ballroom of billionaires. The bad men thought we were invisible, that nobody would miss us or look for us. But Nathan Cole saw me. He listened. He believed. And because of that, 12 kids got to go home. That's what we need more of. People who see, who listen, who act. People who aren't like most people. The room gave her a standing ovation, but Nathan saw her eyes seeking his in the crowd. He gave her a thumbs up, and she smiled. Not the scared, desperate child from his back seat, but a survivor who'd found her voice point 3 weeks after the boat rescue. Nathan stood in his office reviewing surveillance footage with Agent Chun and Detective Brooks. The FBI raids had been successful, but Vincent Hale had vanished like smoke, taking millions in offshore accounts with him. The media painted him as a fugitive billionaire, but Nathan knew better. Hale was planning something. He's too arrogant to just disappear, Nathan said, replaying security footage from Hale's last known location. His ego won't let him lose quietly. Detective Brooks nodded. My sources say he's still in the country, possibly still in the city. He's got safe houses we haven't found yet. Agent Chin's phone buzzed. She answered, her expression shifting from professional to shocked. You're sure? Tonight. She hung up, turning to them. Hale's going to be at the Harbor Foundation charity gala tonight. He's apparently planning to appear publicly, claim he's being framed, turn the narrative around. Nathan felt his pulse quicken. The Harbor Foundation Gala was the social event of the season, attended by every major political and business figure in the state. Media coverage would be wall-to-wall. It's perfect for him, Brooks realized. Public venue, hundreds of witnesses, live television coverage. He can't be arrested without cause in front of all those cameras without looking like the victim. Unless we give him cause, Nathan said slowly. Unless he confesses again, publicly, with no room for legal interpretation. Chen shook her head. He's too smart for that. He'll have lawyers present, prepared statements, coached responses. Not if he doesn't know he's being recorded. Not if he thinks he's winning. Nathan pulled out his phone, scrolling to a number he hadn't wanted to use. Veronica Ames answered on the third ring. Nathan, I thought we agreed. Hale's going to be at the gala tonight. We need your help. Silence. Then, I'm listening. An hour later, they sat in a secure FBI conference room. The plan taking shape. Nathan would attend the gala as planned. He was on the board. His absence would be noticed. Veronica would approach Hale, claim she'd been forced to cooperate with the FBI, that she wanted back in his organization. He'll test you, Chen warned. He might ask you to prove your loyalty. Veronica's jaw tightened. I know. I'm ready. Lucas entered with a small case. Latest surveillance tech. Lapel cameras that look like jewelry. Microphones that can pick up whispers from 30 feet. He handed Veronica an elegant bracelet. This transmits everything directly to our van. Outside. What about Brandt? Nathan asked. She's out on bail. House arrest with an ankle monitor, Chen replied. But her lawyer will probably be there, and definitely some of her former colleagues who haven't been implicated yet. Nathan's phone rang. Ava's name appeared on the screen. Hey, brave girl. Nathan, I saw on the news about the gala. They said, Hale might be there. Don't worry about that. The FBI, I want to come. Nathan nearly dropped the phone. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Listen, Ava said, her voice steady and determined. He sold kids. He hurt my brother. He tried to. Sell me. I have a right to face him. Ava, I'm not asking to be part of your plan. But Mom and I will be outside with the other protesters. The families of the kids he took, we're all coming. He needs to see us. Nathan looked at Chun, who'd heard the conversation. The agent nodded slowly. Stay with the protesters, Nathan said finally. Don't come inside, no matter what happens. Promise. And Nathan, don't let him win. That evening, Nathan adjusted his bow tie in the mirror of the hotel room they'd converted into a command center. Through his earpiece, he could hear Chun coordinating positions. Veronica's already inside, Lucas reported. Nathan, you're up. Nathan entered the gala through the main entrance, cameras flashing as reporters recognized him. After the rescue, he'd become a reluctant celebrity. The billionaire who'd risked everything to save trafficked children. Mr. Cole, any comment on the rumors that Vincent Hale will be here tonight? Nathan smiled tightly. If Mr. Hale appears, I'm sure justice will follow. Inside, the ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and elaborate flower arrangements. Nathan spotted Veronica near the bar, playing her role perfectly. Nervous, isolated, avoided by former colleagues who didn't know what to make of her involvement in the scandal. Then the energy in the room shifted. Conversation stopped mid-sentence as Vincent Hale walked through the entrance, flanked by 3 lawyers and 2 bodyguards. He looked older, grayer, but his smile remained confident as cameras turned his way. Ladies and gentlemen, Hale announced, his voice carrying across the ballroom. I've come tonight to clear my name and expose the conspiracy against me. Nathan watched as Hale worked the room, shaking hands with those brave enough to acknowledge him. His lawyers distributing prepared statements claiming FBI entrapment and corporate sabotage. Through his earpiece, Chen whispered, let him talk. The more confident he gets, the more he'll reveal. Hale took the stage as the formal program began, somehow having arranged to be a speaker despite being a fugitive. Money still talked, even tainted money. My friends, Hale began, the microphone amplifying his practiced sincerity. You know me. You've done business with me, attended my children's graduations, celebrated at my home. Ask yourselves, does the man you know match these wild accusations? Some in the crowd nodded, swayed by his performance. Nathan felt sick watching it. The truth, Hale continued, is that Nathan Cole orchestrated this entire fiction. He wanted my shipping routes, my connections, my business. When I refused to sell, he manufactured this scandal using a disturbed child and a corrupt FBI agent. Who? You're lying. The voice came from the back of the ballroom. Everyone turned as Ava walked in, her mother beside her. They weren't supposed to be inside, but somehow they'd gotten past security. Hale's composure cracked for just a moment. Security, please remove. I was in your warehouse, Ava said, her voice carrying despite its small size. In the room with the steel door. You came once, to look at us like we were animals in cages. You pointed at me and said I'd fetch a good price because I was young and pretty. This child is obviously coached. You have a scar on your left hand from a dog bite, Ava continued. You told the snake man to break Eli's arm if he caused more trouble. You said damaged goods sell for less, but sometimes teach the others to behave. The room had gone completely silent. Hale's lawyers whispered urgently in his ear. Veronica chose that moment to approach the stage. Vincent, please. Let me help you. Hale looked at her with suspicion. You betrayed me. They forced me. Threatened my family. She moved closer, and Nathan saw her activate the recording device in her bracelet. But I know where the real records are. The ones the FBI didn't find. Hale's eyes sharpened with interest. He waved his lawyers back, leaning close to Veronica. The hidden microphone picked up every word. You always were the smart one, Hale murmured. Tell me, does Cole know about the Cambodia shipment? No one does. I kept that off the books like. You asked. Good. 20 units at $50,000 each. That's $1 million the FBI will never find. He was practically gloating now. The buyers are still waiting. With that money, I can rebuild everything. Units. Veronica pressed. You mean, children, of course. What else would they be paying for? Hale smiled coldly. The Cambodia operation is my masterpiece. Rural villages where no one questions missing children. Buyers who pay premium for American documents I provide. From the crowd, someone shouted, He's confessing. Someone call the police. Hale spun toward the voice, his face flushing red. That's when he saw Nathan approaching the stage, phone raised, broadcasting everything live on social media. Smile, Vincent, Nathan said. 50,000 people are watching you admit to trafficking children. Hale lunged for Nathan, but his own bodyguards held him back. They knew assault on livestream would only make things worse. FBI agents materialized from the crowd, badges raised. Vincent Hale, Agent Chin announced, her voice cutting through the chaos. You're under arrest for human trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy. This is entrapment. Hale screamed as handcuffs clicked around his wrists. My lawyers will. Your lawyers just heard you confess to trafficking 20 children to Cambodia, Chin replied. I doubt they'll be representing you much longer. As agents led Hale away, he passed Ava. She stood straight, meeting his eyes without flinching. You didn't win, she said simply. We did. Hale snarled something unrepeatable, but Ava didn't react. She'd faced down worse than his words. The ballroom erupted in chaos. Reporters rushing to file stories. Guests either fleeing or crowding forward to see better. Nathan found himself at the center of a media storm, but his eyes were on Ava and her mother. He pushed through the crowd to reach them. You weren't supposed to come inside. Ava shrugged. Security recognized me from the news. They let us through. That was incredibly dangerous. That was incredibly brave, Layla interrupted, pride evident in her voice. My daughter wanted to face her monster, and she did. Through his earpiece, Nathan heard Chin coordinating arrests. We've got him dead to rights. That confession, with all these witnesses, the live stream, he's done. But Nathan's attention was drawn to a commotion near the service entrance. Deputy Commissioner Brandt had arrived, ankle monitor and all, her lawyer beside her. My client has information vital to this case, the lawyer announced. She's willing to make a deal. Chin approached cautiously. She's already under arrest. She knows where the Cambodia children are, Brandt said desperately. The 20 units Hale mentioned there, being held locally before transport. I know where. But I want immunity. You don't get to negotiate, Chin started. They ship out tomorrow morning, Brandt interrupted. Dawn, if you don't deal with me now, 20 kids disappear forever. Nathan stepped forward. Where are they? Brandt looked at him with something like regret. Container 48 at the North Dock. But it's guarded by cops. Dirty cops who think they're protecting a witness protection transport. They don't know what's really inside. Chin made a rapid decision. Show us. If you're lying, I'm not lying. I want this over. I want. Brant's voice cracked. I want to do one right thing before I go to prison. The convoy moved through the pre-dawn darkness toward the North Dock. FBI vehicles, local police Chin trusted, and Nathan in an unmarked car with Lucas. They'd wanted him to stay behind, but he'd insisted. This had started with Ava in his car, and he needed to see it through. Container 48 sat in a restricted area, 2 police cruisers parked nearby. The officers looked confused when FBI vehicles surrounded them, even more so when Agent Chin showed her badge. Step away from the container, she ordered. Ma'am, this is a federal witness transport. No, it's not. You've been lied to. That container holds trafficked children. The officers exchanged glances, and Nathan saw the moment of horrible realization dawn on their faces. They'd been unwitting accomplices. The container doors swung open, revealing a nightmare. 20 children, ages 5 to 14, huddled in a space meant for cargo. The smell hit Nathan like a physical blow. Some children cried at the sudden light. Others seemed beyond tears, staring with hollow eyes. Medical teams swarmed in, beginning triage immediately. Nathan watched a little boy, maybe 6, clutch a torn teddy bear like a lifeline. A girl who couldn't be more than 8 tried to comfort an even younger child. Hale had buyers lined up for all of them, Brant said quietly beside him. Rich families who couldn't adopt legally, or worse, people who wanted children for darker purposes. Nathan felt rage build in his chest. How long has this been going on? 3 years that I know of. Probably longer. Brant's shoulders slumped. I took my first bribe 5 years ago, just to look the other way on some drug shipments, I told myself. Then it escalated. By the time I realized what I was really protecting, I was in too deep. You could have come forward. With what proof? Hale owned judges, prosecutors, even federal agents. Until you got that recording, he was untouchable. The children were loaded into ambulances, heading for the same medical facility where the first 12 had been treated. Nathan noticed one girl struggling against the medics. Terrified of more strangers, he approached slowly, hands visible. Hey, it's okay. You're safe now. She looked at him with eyes too old for her face. That's what the last people said, before they put us in the box. Nathan's heart broke. He pulled out his phone, showing her the news footage from the gala. See him? That's Vincent Hale, the man who hurt you. And see? He's in handcuffs. He's going to prison forever. The girl watched the footage 3 times before finally allowing the medics to help her. As dawn broke fully, Nathan stood on the dock watching the last ambulance leave. His phone had been buzzing constantly, board members, reporters, even a call from the governor. He ignored them all. Lucas approached with coffee and an update. All 20 kids are stable. Social services is working on identification. Some have been missing for months. And Hale, processed and in federal custody. No bail. The Cambodia confession sealed it. Nathan's phone rang again. This time it was Ava. I saw the news, she said. You saved more kids. We all did. You were the first domino, Ava. None of this happens without your courage. Mom says we can visit them if their families allow it. Maybe it would help, talking to someone who understands. Nathan marveled at her strength, this child who'd been through hell and emerged thinking of others. That's a beautiful idea. The weeks that followed brought an avalanche of revelations. Hale's records, finally decrypted, revealed a network spanning 12 states and 4 countries. 143 children recovered in total. 68 arrests, including judges, cops, and business leaders. Nathan testified before Congress again, this time with Ava beside him. She'd insisted on speaking, though everyone worried she was too young. Age doesn't matter when you've lived through something, she told the committee. I'm 8 now, but I've seen things that aged me. What matters is that people listen, that they believe, that they act. The room was silent as she continued. Mr. Hale thought we were products to sell. The police who were supposed to protect us took bribes instead. But Nathan Cole, who didn't know me at all, risked everything because it was right. We need more people like him, and fewer people who look away. The Cole Foundation expanded rapidly, funded by assets seized from Hale's empire and donations that poured in after the gala footage went viral. They established safe houses, therapy programs, and a revolutionary alert system that bypassed potentially compromised local authorities. Vincent Hale's trial became the most watched legal proceeding in years. Nathan testified for 6 hours, playing recordings, presenting evidence. But the most powerful testimony came from the children themselves, speaking via closed circuit to protect their identities. Eli, Ava's brother, spoke with quiet dignity about the days in captivity, the hope that someone would look for them, the moment he saw his sister had escaped and knew help might come. She promised she'd get help, he said. Even when it seemed impossible, I believed her, because Ava doesn't break promises. Hale was convicted on all charges, 47 counts of trafficking, kidnapping, conspiracy, and money laundering. The judge sentenced him to 5 consecutive life terms, ensuring he'd never see freedom again. Deputy Commissioner Brandt received 25 years, but was placed in protective custody after providing evidence that led to 30 more arrests. Her testimony revealed the depth of corruption, names and dates and payoffs that helped prosecutors build airtight cases. Marcus Snake Torino pleaded guilty and got 40 years. His brother, who'd run the boat crew, got 30. The network collapsed like dominoes, each arrest leading to more names, more locations, more rescued children. 6 months after that first night in the parking garage, Nathan stood at the ribbon cutting for the Ava House, the Foundation's first residential treatment center for trafficking survivors. Ava herself cut the ribbon, her mother and brother beside her. "This isn't just a building," Ava said to the assembled crowd. "It's proof that good wins when people don't give up. Every child who comes here will know they matter. They're believed. They're worth fighting for." The center filled within a week, children from across the country whose lives had been shattered by trafficking. But here, with therapists who understood trauma, with peers who'd survived similar horrors, they began to heal. Nathan visited weekly, sometimes to read to younger children, sometimes just to listen. One evening, he found Ava in the art therapy room, teaching origami to a new arrival. "You're good at this," he told her. "I learned in the dark," she replied matter-of-factly. "Eli and I would fold paper in our heads to pass time. Now I can teach others that even in darkness, you can create something beautiful." The Foundation's tip line received hundreds of calls daily. Most led nowhere, but every credible lead was investigated. In the first year, they recovered 42 more children, prevented 6 attempted abductions, and helped convict 23 traffickers. Nathan's company thrived despite, or perhaps because of, his stance. Investors appreciated ethical leadership, and his board, purged of Hale's influences, supported the Foundation's work. Veronica Ames returned as CFO, her FBI work having earned respect despite the deception. "I spent months living a lie," she told Nathan. "Now I get to live the truth." Detective Imani Brooks, promoted after exposing department corruption, became the Foundation's law enforcement liaison. She established protocols for protecting children when reporting systems failed, ensuring no child would be ignored. As Ava and Eli nearly were 1 year after the parking garage encounter, Nathan sat in his office, the same one where he'd been, obsessing over mergers and acquisitions. Now, the walls displayed children's artwork, letters from survivors, photos from Foundation events. His phone rang. Ava, calling for their weekly check-in. "Guess what?" she said, excitement bubbling through. "I won the essay contest. The one about heroes. That's amazing. What did you write about?" "You. But not the rescue stuff. Everyone knows that. I wrote about the moment in your car when you could have called security, but didn't. When you chose to listen instead of assume. That's when you became a hero, before you knew about anything else." Nathan felt his throat tighten. "Ava, and Mom got promoted. Head of dietary at the hospital. And Eli's science team made regionals." She chattered on about normal things, school, friends, a boy who tried to pull her braids. Beautiful, ordinary childhood moments that had almost been stolen forever. After they hung up, Nathan looked out at the ocean, thinking about paths not taken. If Marcus hadn't called in sick, if he'd taken a different elevator, if he'd called security immediately, hundreds of children might still be trapped in nightmare. His assistant knocked, entering with a stack of files. "The Singapore merger documents. Mr. Cole, they need your signature." Nathan looked at the papers that would have consumed his attention a year ago. He signed them quickly, his mind already on the Foundation's expansion to Asia, where trafficking was endemic. That evening, at another charity gala, this one celebrating the Foundation's success, Nathan watched Ava and Eli perform a dance they'd choreographed. Their mother sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face, not of sorrow, but of gratitude for every normal moment restored. Lucas stood beside Nathan, now the Foundation's head of security. You know she's going to change the world, right? She already has, Nathan replied. As the music ended and applause filled the room, Ava caught Nathan's eye. She smiled and mouthed two words that had started everything. Thank you. But Nathan shook his head, mouthing back, thank you. Because she'd been right from the beginning. He wasn't like most people. He just hadn't known it until a brave little girl showed him who he could be. The Foundation's work continued, expanding internationally. Hill's conviction had sent shockwaves through trafficking networks worldwide. Other countries requested training, resources, and support to establish similar programs. Ava, now 9, became the Foundation's youngest spokesperson, addressing the United Nations on her 10th birthday. She stood at the podium where world leaders had spoken, her voice clear and strong. Every child deserves to be heard, believed, and protected, not because they're special, but because they're human. Mr. Hale and people like him see children as products. But we're not products. We're people with dreams, fears, hopes, and rights. Today, I challenge every adult listening. Don't wait for a child to climb into your car to save them. Look for the signs. Listen when they speak. Believe when they tell you something's wrong. Be the person who acts, not the one who looks away. The assembly rose in ovation. Nathan watched from the gallery, Ava's locket, which she'd insisted he keep, warm in his pocket. It had become his reminder that courage comes in all sizes, that one voice can topple empires, that sometimes the most important moments begin with being told to shut up and listen. What would you have done in that parking garage, called security, and driven away, or risked everything to listen to a terrified child's plea for help? If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful narratives that remind us that sometimes the smallest voices carry the most important truths.